And to get that channel to perform, it's well known that you've got to kind of offer market development funds, spiffs to these organizations to get them to pay attention to your solutions. And in fact, one of the largest marketing expenditures now of a tech company are channel incentives. And that 3 to 5%, that's a percentage of revenue that is going forth to try to get the channel to pay attention to your solutions. And that's one of the big challenges with the channel, is that although it's more sometimes seen as more efficient than having direct sales folks. After all, you don't have the carry cost of a sales rep. You don't have all of the training and overhead costs that come with it. That is estimated by Forrester to be about $135,000 per sales rep. You know, it's no wonder that organizational strategy is looking at saying, hey, on the direct sales rep side, these reps are very expensive. Their base pay is high, their incentive pay is high, and there's a big enablement overhead to them, and $135,000 extra on top of that a year. And the channel looks like it's way more effective. Let's put more resources towards the channel to grow. The challenge becomes that one of them is that they don't necessarily, you don't own them. So it's hard often to enable them. It's hard to get them to pay attention to your solutions. They can just as easily sell your solution as a competitor's solution. One of the other challenges that we see is that often the channel doesn't sell very well in terms of representing the unique value of your solutions, and all too often they'll show up and throw up to customer presentations. We've sat in many channel sales presentations and watched the sales reps present, and it doesn't take too long for them to start showing slides about their company, perhaps slides about your company, getting into endless slides about the technical aspects of the products and services, the features and price, and unfortunately very little about the company they're talking to, their business challenges, their tech challenges, and the value ultimately that can be delivered. And in fact, when buyers were surveyed, they indicate that 93% of channel reps, partners show up and sell with features and price versus value. It's 93%. So that means only 7%, less than 1 in 10, of channel reps are showing up and having business discussions and talking about value, as opposed to showing up and talking features and price. Another common challenge that we see is that often when it comes to go-to-market, the channel partners are also not too great at their go-to-market strategy. Often they'll follow your sales reps around and literally just take orders from the hay that the sales reps, your sales reps, are making. And so they become an order-taking channel. And then, as we said, the rest of them are just showing up and throwing up. So, you know, they're just not selling well. So as we look at the channel and we try to grow them, we try to grow revenue from the channel, it is going to require a little bit of a different strategy in terms of enablement if we're going to really grow it and be successful and have, you know, a true replacement or supplement for the sales teams that are getting less focus right now as we focus more on the channel. So in terms of what your buyers want and what they need, you know, the first thing, and many of you know this statistic very well from the corporate executive board, decision is being made by committee nowadays, 5.4 decision makers per deal. I think the more important aspect is, yes, there's a consensus that needs to be made on the purchase decision, but that C-suite execs are actively engaged in the buying decision-making process for many of the decisions that are being made for your solutions. So if they're not able to translate from the technical discussions they're having, the line manager discussions that they're comfortable with, and either have those discussions directly with the business executives or enable the tech person or the line manager to have that business discussion, clearly the deals are going to get slowed down. The executives are going to have to figure out what the value is of the solution beyond the technical aspects that your channel partner has presented. We also find that much of the journey now in terms of the decision making is being done digitally. So we've got to give these customers a reason to want to meet with the channel partner rep, enabling customers to maybe make their own decisions online, first of all, and understand the unique value of what you're delivering. So a digital strategy is important. And then beyond that, if we want our channel partners involved in more than just taking an order, but actually building and growing demand, we have to give reasons for these decision makers, this purchase committee, to meet with our channel partners. And finally, and I think this is extremely important, especially in tech, we've seen it in medical, in business services, the channel partner typically has built a relationship with the technical or line manager staff within an organization. And unfortunately, many of the sales reps are unable to have those business discussions. Yet we see from IDC that 80% of purchasing budgets aren't controlled by that technology director or by that line manager, the person who ultimately is the problem to be solved. It's actually controlled by business leaders and executives. And you have to ask yourself, how adept are our channel partners at having that business discussion, being able to understand the buyer's challenges, map the solutions effectively to those challenges, and communicate the unique value that ultimately is going to be delivered. So it becomes more important, and the mantra in terms of enabling the channel to be successful, I think, needs to be the following: engage earlier, engage higher, and engage with value. And how do we enable them to do this, to engage earlier, engage higher, and engage with value? So what I want to do is take you through a client of ours who had a similar challenge. NWN is a channel partner, in this particular instance and product line, of HP. And they're selling desktop devices as a service, essentially, to organizations. So what they need to do is convince the organizations they sell to. NWN is a specialist in selling to state, local, and federal government offices. We got to know them a lot from the work they did in California with a lot of the state and local organizations out there. They also have a big operation and presence in the Northeast. And essentially what they want to do is grow this desktop as a service business. So we worked with NWN in conjunction with sponsorship from HP Inc. And we worked with them to develop a toolkit that would enable them to engage with the purchasing committees, the business directors within these state and local and federal agencies, and get them to understand that the way that they're managing and providing devices to the users within these municipalities and organizations may not be the most effective, and that it's actually costing them a lot to just continue to buy devices the old way with large CapEx expenses and have to manage those devices. So NWN wanted a way to engage in a very consultative and prescriptive way, and to scale this across all of the channel reps that they had. And as we said, funded by HP Inc. And so the first thing that we did was we built a tool collaboratively with them. And the tool starts with a little bit of a structured discovery. They found that many times when they were engaging with customers, that the channel reps they weren't really asking all of the right questions. So we codified for them the right questions to ask. You know, the name of the organization, where they're located, what their primarily the organization does, how big the organization is, and then what's the plan in terms of the overall PC plans for refresh and deployment and replacement over the next several years. And then one of the other things we did was we didn't want to get right into pitching the DaaS solution right away. We wanted instead to make sure that the reps were engaging very consultatively. So the NWN reps now, across 3 different dimensions, IT efficiency, risks, and enabling the business, do a quick little assessment of the challenges that the organization they're selling to is facing, whether it's large capital expenses for each refresh, they've got too many old PCs, they're constrained because there's a lot of logistics, configuration, and warehousing issues when they go to do the replacements. They're fussing with the IT assets and configurations and et cetera. And they get the buyer to kind of rank which one of these are the top priorities, which ones are high, which ones are medium, and which are low across these 3 different dimensions and these questions. And then for each one of those, they have a discussion and they compare them to other organizations. So in the Southeast or in the Northwest or out West, where they're selling in a particular state government or local government or federal government, what are the priorities that others are indicating are most important to them, and what was their selection overall? So here we can see that avoiding large capital expenses for each reset was high for this particular organization they're talking to, and it was also high for other organizations of similar type. Here, the top in this category was in improved IT efficiency was 81%, and that was controlling and better managing the IT assets and configuration for financial services companies. Compliance is important, so that kind of makes sense. And in this case, it was medium for them. So we'll want to have a discussion in terms of why that's not a top priority for them, and also reinforce the priorities that they have. It gives a great way to kind of make everything from the start of the engagement be challenge-focused around the buyer challenges and not be ultimately about the solution. Now, based on those priorities, the next thing to do is to kind of start talking about what solutions the buyer might want that the NWN portfolio has in it. And it is an extensive portfolio around desktop and device services. So based on the challenges that the buyer selected, the tool will automatically, out of a pretty big portfolio of solutions throughout the life cycle of managing personal devices, be able to automatically recommend the right solutions to match those particular challenges. And then certainly in collaboration with the buyer, they can check on and off the different selections. And then based on that, hitting next, they then look at the value that those solutions can deliver against those challenges, looking at what the legacy is costing, in this case $3.6 million for this organization, and what the business value impact of the NWN solutions can be in delivering improved IT efficiency, reducing risks, and better enabling the business. In this case, we're looking at the dimensions of improving IT efficiency, which includes addressing each of those challenges that were highlighted before. Only the challenges that they indicated as top or high are typically included automatically in the analysis. And then if you want to include the priorities that were medium or low, you can do that. But in this case, we're kind of tallying up all of these, and that's almost $1 million worth of savings just in IT efficiency. Now, where did that come from? Well, again, we had the portfolio of who the company is and what their kind of current state and refresh cycle is. They indicated where they're challenged or not challenged. We picked several solutions, and then there's research in the tool that estimates the current cost of doing nothing and the value of change. But now the channel rep can explore with the customer any one of these individual challenges. And when they do that, the first thing is we provide a little background. What is the challenge in terms of aging PCs? Why is it important to address? And what does it typically cost? What does the research say is the reason that this is a challenge worth addressing? In this case, we want to educate them a little bit that, 5 years, 2 months, that's the age of the average PC. Compared to the recommended 3-year life cycle, that's from Silicon Republic, 40% higher support costs can be expected for PCs 4 years or older. So there's a lot of older PCs out there. You're not alone. A lot of people have bad refresh cycles. There's a lot higher support costs than what most people may believe, though, for going beyond that 3-year life cycle. And the average PC, in terms of aged, that goes beyond the 3-year life cycle, $326 to $401 extra is what it costs. So quite a high cost in terms of overall what going to a longer life cycle would cost. Then we flip the screen over by pressing the little blue button, and it'll show exactly what the NWN solution ultimately can deliver. And then we have overall a calculator or two that go about quantifying where ultimately the savings can come from. There's a dimension of support and lower support cost, and there's also a calculator for PC power consumption. And here, we know that there's about 598 old PCs based on the information they put in the discovery page. We know what the average power consumption is for a PC, how many operating hours in a typical year, and you can see several of these that are blue can be updated and edited. We've got overall savings in terms of hours or wattage in PCs, and those can all be fine-tuned for the overall analysis. And that is all then tallied up into a summary table where we can go and communicate exactly how money can be saved across the IT efficiency, risk, and business enablement buckets. And then overall can go through a budget summary with them, putting in the cost of the service, the solution itself, as well as comparing that against the benefits to come up with the key financials that ultimately they'll need for the solution. So if you notice, we've done quite a bit of automation for the channel rep in a very easy way that won't require much training, but will guide them through having to tell an effective story, to do a great amount of discovery and consultation, and ultimately come up with some very powerful results that will motivate the buyer overall to change. And then ultimately, because we know there's 5.167 decision makers in these municipalities and organizations NWN sells into, there's quite a bit of consensus building that has to be done with purchase committees, and a lot of folks are involved. One of the keys is to produce a very powerful and compelling story, but put it in a proposal that can be shared amongst the buying committee. And so they work hand in hand with the channel partner, works hand in hand rep with the customer. The customer owns the results by reviewing each of the savings areas, getting them to focus on their top priorities, editing any of the default assumptions, and then ultimately printing out this proposal that then can be shared with other stakeholders within the organization. One of the other examples, and I'm not going to take you through all the screens on this, but it is available from Microsoft.com and certainly available from channel partners as well as enterprise reps for Microsoft. But Windows 10 upgrades are happening, but for Microsoft and for many channel partners, they're not happening quite quick enough. So Microsoft turned to Elinian to help build a tool that would help convey the value of Windows 10 Enterprise. So this is used by channel partners that sell to large enterprises and would enable the partner reps to very similarly engage on a consultative basis, assess the challenges that the buyer has with remaining with the existing operating system, illuminate those challenges, that there is a cost of doing nothing, sticking with Windows 7 and older versions, and very clearly and personally communicating the value of Windows 10 overall to the organization. And essentially for the channel reps, it's about 100 engagements a month right now in terms of them using it. And again, this is used with larger enterprises. And we're estimating that it's having about a 6-month acceleration benefit for Microsoft and the channel partner in getting them to accelerate the overall decision to go to Windows 10. And when you're talking about such large enterprises, 5, 10,000, 40, 50,000 licenses, software assurance, you're talking big bucks when you can accelerate overall in terms of a 6-month acceleration. Another great example of channel enablement is a program that ShoreTel implemented a few years back. And Mark Garman is pictured, and this story is on our website, so you can read in a lot more detail and hear some of the things that Mark has said about the ShoreTel program. One of the things that they were challenged with is how did they enable their channel partners to go to market better? And then when they do win those engagements in terms of overall getting an appointment, what did they say other than talking about endlessly about all of the unified communication features that ShoreTel had overall? So one of the things that we worked on creating with Mark was a TCO challenge and a guarantee program. So they launched the Tco Guarantee program, and the tool was used as the basis for that program. With the Tco Guarantee, the channel partner had a way to go to market by offering a guarantee and offering to assess an organization's current communication and collaboration systems. And after they did that, a Tco Guarantee would be put in place so that if the organization didn't save up to a certain percent of what ShoreTel indicated they were going to save with the TCO tool, there would be rebates and credits that went back to the customer. We can proudly say that the tool was pretty accurate in the analyses and that no credits were ever returned. And we can also say that the program had a huge and incredible impact. First of all, it resulted in a lot more engagements that the channel partners were able to have. It gave a business reason to meet with the channel partner instead of the channel partner calling up and saying, hey, how's your current communication collaboration system? Let me go in and talk to you about this great solution from ShoreTel. All the customer's thinking about is pitch, pitch, pitch. I'm going to get pitched to. They're going to show up and throw up in a presentation, and it's going to be the same old, same old. With the TCO Guarantee, they went out with a challenge to challenge the customer to say, look, there's a high cost of doing nothing, and there's incredible value to change. And not only that, but once we come up with this analysis for you, we're going to put some real wood behind this arrow. We're going to guarantee to you that these savings are going to be realized by your organization. So they launched the program to 250 different channel partners, and the tool basically was used to generate between direct sales and indirect sales about 150 customized reports a month. And we had a really simple version that would create a quick assessment to get customers interested, and that was kind of a dynamic white paper. You only put in 3 or 4 parameters, hit a button, and it downloaded this custom research paper to you. And that was getting 600 visitors a month. So they used that as the challenge to the buyers. Then from those 600 leads that were generated a month, those would go out to the channel partners, and then the channel partners were engaging about 150 customers a month and generating those reports. And it really helped to move the whole go-to-market program as well as the customer conversations and engagements from product to, at that time, kind of total cost of ownership. Now it would be kind of a combination of TCO and business value has become much more important. But they were able to do that in about 30% of all the deals. And even though we wish that was a little bit higher, the channel, again, you don't own them, so it's hard to influence it. And most of the sales that ShoreTel was doing was through the channel. So we felt that that was a big win because we were able to really move the needle on getting that old product, feature, function, price kind of presentation over to value in about 3 out of 10 of the deals. And from that alone, we were able to generate $30 million a year, and the program ran for about 5 years really, really strong. So $30 million incremental over those 5 years is what the program generated for ShoreTel, and it really helped to boost their growth during a very, very critical time in the business. When we looked at individual deals, we also saw an incredible difference where win rates would dramatically improve. They already had a really good win rate because the products were very cost effective at a time when organizations were really about doing more with less. And they already had a high 62% win rate in their engagements. But we were able to elevate that even more. They weren't resting on their laurels with that. We got it up to 90%. And the other thing that we found is that it really reduced discounting dramatically. In fact, you could not go to the executives at ShoreTel with a deal and ask for a discount unless you ran the TCO tool and took them through the program. So no TCO tool, no discount was their mantra. And if you did run the TCO tool and you still needed a discount to win, they were willing to give it at that point. But because it put that barrier in place and it got the customer and the sales rep from the channel partner to focus on value and not price, it did have that 10% deal size improvement. And Mark will be at a Business Value Summit telling this story. I believe he's going to be at the one in San Jose coming up at the end of the month. So we'll give you some details on that, and perhaps if you're in the Bay Area, you can come out and meet with Mark, and he'll be happy to share with you some of the program results from that program, or just reach out to him on LinkedIn. Many of the customers that we have are more than willing to talk about their programs and really help to kind of maybe shape or help you make decisions on how you can improve your programs. But Mark has been great at sharing some of these results and kind of getting it out there so others could replicate the success that ShoreTel had during that time. When we look at kind of partner enablement, value in the buyer's journey, and we look at taking a customer from the ideas they have to exploring possible solutions to evaluating to ultimately selecting, and now more important than ever in our kind of service-driven world is the renewal process. You know, there are definitely tools that we need to think about and deliver. It's not about the same old, well, let's give the channel partners PowerPoint and let's give them some technical training and certification. You know, let's give them a white paper or two. Now it's about we have to enable them to have business discussions that they may not be comfortable with beyond the tech discussions they're having today. We have to enable them to sell to industries they might not have been expert at before. And so how do you give them the right content at the right time, but go beyond content, give them insights, research, quantification, have them be able to uniquely articulate the value personally to that prospect with what matters to that prospect most. And that's really what this kind of roadmap is in terms of tools that we think you should use to supplement what you're already doing in your partner enablement across the buyer's journey. And you can see in the tool, like, for example, what we did with NWN, it actually combines these three elements kind of in one tool. So this doesn't necessarily have to be three separate ones, but could be. The focus here is kind of what you ultimately deliver during those stages and what's most important. So in the beginning, it's about assessing and benchmarking the customer's problems, challenges, and giving them insights in terms of what it's costing them. The cost of doing nothing is really important at this point in time because they have a lot of challenges they could address. So what you want to do is give them an idea of which challenges they really should be addressing. Maybe open their eyes to challenges they weren't even thinking about. Benchmark them against the competition, their peers, to motivate them, and then ultimately recommend solutions and strategies in particular that you think could help them to solve those challenges. Then basically quantifying for them the business benefits that you can uniquely deliver with those applied solutions, and then ultimately in the end coming up with a business case where you're putting in the investment they have to make in the solution and calculating for them the key return on investment metrics, and perhaps comparing your solution to other solutions in a total cost of ownership or business value manner so that they know that your solution is the best choice on a financial basis. And again, this will help us to kind of meet that mantra of engage earlier, engage higher, and engage with value. Now, we know that the partner channel represents a challenge. We talked about some of those challenges before. Mind share being a very big one in that you don't own that channel. You can't determine where they spend their time during the day. The competition is in there as well. Often with these partners, many of them are not exclusive on just your solution. So it becomes really important to differentiate your channel program. And one of the ways to do that is not just offer the typical kind of technical certifications and technical selling, but really get them to shape their business, make their go-to-market easy and more packaged, get them more opportunities, and then ultimately enable the channel partner to have the business discussions overall that they need to have. We met with a customer this week, been a long-term customer, and as they're reorganizing, they're putting more emphasis on channel partners. So they're a case study in exactly what I know many of you were looking at, and certainly what the research in the beginning pointed to, that when it comes to growth, this organization is not looking to the direct sales group for that growth. They're looking towards channel partners as a more effective way to grow. And in fact, unfortunately, they cut a lot of their direct sales team just recently as they're spinning out of a company, and they're expecting the channel to make up for that difference. So it becomes essential when you're putting more of the emphasis on the channel partners, not to just do the same old, same old. You've got to do something different, and you've got to elevate the programs. And if you want them to pay attention to your programs, you've got to have the go-to-market business value focus and articulation optimized. Otherwise, you're not going to achieve your goals. And this organization, as they cut their sales team and they reduced that direct headcount, they're really going to have to turbocharge their channel partner programs to, meet the goals. And it's not going to be easy. The proactive nature of wanting to reduce cost is there for many organizations, but now they've got to invest a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in the channel to try to get the mind share, the attention, and the business value articulation in place so that their channel partners are paying more attention to them. They're getting more leads and more opportunities because of the value-focused go-to-market programs that are put in place, the challenge-type assessment engagements that we talked about earlier. And then they're enabling the partners to be able to precisely articulate the right solutions, the right value, and the right story at the right time for that particular prospect. So Melissa, I saw several questions come in, so I'll turn it back to you to provide some of those to me.
Yeah, we had several questions come in. Before I start the questions, I just want to let everyone know, as you can see, we're doing screenshots of some of the tools and models we've done. If you want to see some live demos, we're happy to demonstrate that. We also do a lot of value consulting, basically introductions. It's complimentary. But if you do have, obviously many of you, your products and services have a very compelling value. And if you're not able to articulate the cost of doing nothing, you're really losing out. So these are the types of tools how we engage with our customers and help them tell that compelling ROI story, really being able to tangibly show the cost of doing nothing. And like I said, it's very compelling to buyers. So with that said, any questions, please reach out to me. I put my contact information on chat. Let's start with the first question. What do you think about the adoption rate within the channel? It's another thing they need to learn. How do you help them get committed?
Yeah, I think that it's always a challenge because, again, there's always a mind share challenge with the channel reps. But what's happening to them is they are going out and they're being less effective with customers. They're not getting the meetings that they were getting before. When they do get the meetings, they're not being invited back because they're going and pitching products instead of doing what buyers want and what they need. So they're kind of feeling the heat in one direction, in that their success is starting to wane, and the old ways that they sold are not working as effectively. As well, they're often being put in uncomfortable situations because more business folks are showing up in these meetings, and they're not able to really have conversations with them that are the right way. So there's kind of pressure from the buyer that will help to influence better adoption. On the enablement side, the tool is a good start, but it is not the be-all, end-all. And there's a 5-pillar program that we've implemented to kind of help guide, and there are articles on the blog that Melissa can share with you that kind of guide how you can drive better adoption of these tools, from how they're designed in the beginning to ultimately how you roll them out. And I think the best way to do this is start with the premium partners that you have, the ones that are part of the elite program. Don't introduce it to every one of your channel partners right from the beginning. And then for those channel partners, instead of just having, or in conjunction with having the technical certification and training, kind of have a business certification and training on how to sell with your solutions, and actually go and put a certification program around the toolkit and using it with customers. And we've seen that have great success. And then the third, I would say, is kind of mimic some of the things that ShoreTel did. I think their program was stellar in that they offered either a challenge program or a guarantee program. They put both a carrot and a stick out there where they said, look, no discounts unless you do a value approach. I think that was a great stick. And then the carrot was, if you do it, you can offer your customers a TCO or a value guarantee. And that will immediately differentiate the program and the channel. So, I think that could be the most powerful, is mimicking what Mark Arman and the team at ShoreTel did. Could, I think, be the icing on the cake to your program.
Okay, great. The next question that came in, I think it may have come in prior to that. It does weave in a bit with the last question. How can I get the channel to pay attention to my solutions versus others?
Yeah, and that's a little bit different. I think, I always used to have, when I was responsible for product, and I did have a small direct sales force, but most of what we did was sold through the channel. To me, it was about packaging things to make it easy to market, easy to sell, and then ultimately easy to deliver. And if it's easier, if they can press the easy button with your solution, to them it's often better. They also look at where they can make the most money. Many channel partner reps and channel partners their eyes are green, so it's pretty easy to understand that any way you can help them to ring the cash register better will help to get you more attention. So if you're giving them more opportunities and leads, if you've packaged up a go-to-market program for them that they can leverage and really win and make it better. We did one for Microsoft a while back, and this is quite a while back, called the Infrastructure Optimization Program. And there was essentially an assessment toolkit that we developed in conjunction with Microsoft. And they launched that to their channel partners. And their channel partners basically packaged a little service around it. And the service was free, but it enabled the channel partner to elevate and go to market in a different way. And it elevated their perception in their customers' eyes. So the go-to-market is very important. And then ultimately, if you're able to empower them better and kind of differentiate your empowerment program, kind of having the technical certification is almost table stakes nowadays. So how do you help them have, the business acumen they need to succeed when 80% of the decisions are being made by business groups and not the technical groups or the line groups? Any way you can enable them to have that differentiation out in the field would be good. So I hope that answered the question, Melissa.
Yeah, I think so. Another question that came in, and we actually do get this question a lot with our clients. Would you restrict the use of tools to premier partners or provide access to all partners?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think certainly in the beginning when you're launching and releasing this, I absolutely think it should be restricted to the premier partners. At the same time, I think providing a simpler version maybe on the web self-service for not only channel partners, but just prospects in general is important because the digital journey may be something that they're taking exclusive of engaging a channel partner direct sales. But when it comes to the deeper dive assessments or value storytelling and kind of ROI TCO tools, I think restricting them to the premier level makes that premier level distinct and better. So it becomes an incentive to try to get them to strive to be in that program. And then I think if you can put some of these things around that program, like the value guarantee or the challenge or assessment toolkit, the more you can package them as these value-added elements, I think it helps to drive engagement and get more people to want to jump up to the premier level. Plus, you tend to get more attention and more commitment from those premier providers, so it makes it easier to roll out the program in the beginning. Once you've had success with the Premier program, then I think you can maybe open it up to the second tier or third tier partners beyond that. But you really need to have that success, I think, at the Premier level before you release it out and use it as a benefit to that program.
Okay, fantastic. I did have a question come in regarding if the presentation was recorded, and it is. If you've registered and we have the appropriate email address, we will follow up with the link to the recording as well. And then the last question I have is there a way to have personalized versions for each channel partner, and do you recommend this?
Yeah, that's a great question. So many of you have hundreds in some instances of Premier channel partners, and wouldn't it be great if the channel partner could have their unique logo, maybe some unique report content, perhaps a company description, and have it be personalized and somewhat branded. And then certain channel partners have very specific solutions and value add on top of the solutions that you deliver. And all three of those could be aspects. Kind of the basic logoing and branding would be kind of first level, then some promotion and report customization, maybe second level, and then solution set could be third level. But we definitely recommend weaving those elements into the channel enablement and tools program so that they can personalize these tools, so it's not just branded by you, but it then becomes a deliverable co-branded from you via them and their brand, their kind of description and unique value, and then ultimately perhaps their value-added solutions on top as a third level.
Okay, well, excellent. Well, that is the last question that I have. I want to thank everyone for joining us today. Like I said earlier, if you have any questions, insights that you need, please feel free to reach out to myself or Tom via LinkedIn. I've also posted my contact information. Again, Melissa Shear with Alinea. I want to wish you all the best with your channel endeavors. And again, thank you so much for joining us. And Tom, thanks so much for the great content.
Thank you, Melissa. And one more thing is that we do have a Business Value Summit. I mentioned it a little earlier, coming up in Santa Clara and Boston. And that'll be March 1st in Santa Clara and March 9th in Boston. And we'll be presenting many of the success stories that you've heard here. I'll be presented by different business value practice leaders within the organization, Splunk, from ShoreTel, from IDC will be there. We'll also have folks from, I believe, Teradata, IBM. Yeah, so a lot of thought leaders sharing a lot of their best practices. So do sign up for that summit. It's free. You'll get a free pass to IDC Directions, and I think a signed copy of the Frugalnomics Survival Guide book as well. So looking forward to seeing you at that event.
Yeah, hopefully you all can attend. It is a complimentary event, and all of the thought leaders that we work with directly, not all of them, but many of them will be there. So we look forward to that. Excellent. Thank you again, everyone. Have a wonderful day.